Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is Sarah. Today I'm going to wrap up Dewey's 24-hour readathon for you, as well as a few random books that I've read that weren't part of different readathons over the last 6 weeks, because there's a few things I haven't wrapped up for some reason. So I'll get to those. But firstly, I participated in the readathon. I did very well. I'm very pleased with how I did. My little spreadsheet here in my bujo. I'm not very pretty with my bujo, but it's functional and that's all that matters. I read 3 books, a short story, and I did read a little bit of another book that I had already started but didn't finish it, so whatever. I read through hour 18. I don't time exactly how long I read, but you know, somewhere, yeah, I read a lot. I read for a long time. The first book I started with was Quick Step to Murder, a ballroom dance mystery. This is by Ella Barrick, and this is a cozy mystery. There's 3 books in the series, but this is the only one that I read for the readathon. And this features Stacy, who co-owns a ballroom dance studio with her ex-fiance, Rafe, and he gets murdered. And of course she's framed for it because obviously reasons. The author who wrote this does put some interesting information in the beginning of the book. She did do some ballroom dance in her past, and she really did do a lot of research to try to make this, I guess you would say, a little bit realistic underneath the cozy mystery veneer, you know? And I think she did an excellent job with that. There were a few things I was like, that's kind of sketchy, but whatever, that's fine. But overall, I think she kind of did capture the ballroom dance world. It was interesting to read. I did not guess who did it, so that's a win on all sides, and I don't know what star rating I gave it, but I really enjoyed it. Then I grabbed a short story because I really wanted to get this read, The Mermaid Girl by Erica Swyler. And this is apparently somehow connected to the Book of Speculation by this author. I'm not sure how. I have not read the Book of Speculation. There are some chapters in the beginning, though, that I kind of perused, and it looks like this deals with some of the characters' parents. It's about Paulina, who used to be the mermaid girl in the circus, and she left the life and married her love, Daniel, and you know, how she's coping with the loss of such a big thing in her life. She was the mermaid girl for a very long time, and the circus was her home. So it was kind of bittersweet. I mean, short stories don't always sit well with me. So, I mean, I thought it was okay. I probably should read the Book of Speculation pretty soon after reading this, or should have already. But it was a little bit sad, so it wasn't really great for the readathon. So then I picked up Bookishly Ever After by Isabel Bandiera. This is a young adult contemporary about Phoebe, who really lives her life in books, or her love life via books. She is a super duper fangirl of certain series, and she is falling in love with people who she thinks meets that character. And when really there's a boy who actually likes her and who is very cute and all of that, and she doesn't notice him because she's so interested in living out her book fantasies. I guess that's kind of how I would summarize it. This was not what I expected it to be. She's like a super duper introvert, like nerd fangirl sort of person, and I can see myself as her when I was a teenager, so it was a really cute read for me about how you can't live your life like you're in a book, really. It doesn't quite work that way. Would I recommend it for all people? No, not necessarily. It was very fluffy, but I thought it was a cute book, and it was a good readathon book. It went very quickly. By this time it was starting to get late, and I needed something a little bit different and maybe a little bit funny, so I picked up Panda-monium by Stuart Gibbs. I love Stu Gibbs. Yes, I know they're middle grade, and yes, I know that they're really meant for the boy population, but that's a whole nother tangent I could have. This is the fourth book in his Fun Jungle series, and it's about this boy whose parents work at this big, it's like a zoo called Fun Jungle, only it's like a zoo of epic proportions. And so he kind of gets run of the park because they are provided housing there. And it's a mystery. There's always a mystery involved. And he also has all of his sidekicks and his little girlfriend and all of that help him with these mysteries. This time around, the panda that's from China gets stolen and goes missing. And there's also like a secondary mystery of who taught the dolphins how to pants people. So again, this is not for everyone. I guess I have a little bit of 13-year-old boy humor in my brain, and I snort laughed through this entire book. It is so much fun. The other thing that I really do enjoy is that these books, or this series in particular, does have real animal facts in it, and they are written so seamlessly into the narrative of the book that you don't realize you're learning things. So this is like a real good thing. Having something to read that's funny and engaging and also can teach you something is like a really good thing to have under your belt when you have children. So I love these books. I don't know what I gave it, probably like 4 stars or something. I cannot wait for the next installment. I hope he writes another one because I love them. And it was a great way to end Dewey's 24-hour readathon for me. I did pick up Fairy Keeper by Amy Bearse. This I got in a book box, an ebook in a book box, but I did finish it, so I'll just wrap it up now. This is featuring Sierra, who is a fairy keeper. They are supposed to protect the fairies. They're born with like a tattoo on their neck if they happen to be a fairy keeper, and apparently it runs in like family lines of some sort. And she has a very abusive father who makes a drug using fairy dust, I guess you could say, and yet then the fairies disappear. They're running out. They're not producing as much of this fairy dust. They're using and abusing the fairies, basically, for good and for bad in this book. And so they run away, and she has to go and find the fairies in order to protect her sister, who he is going to sell off to someone he does business with. The first half to a little bit more, I really, really liked. I really loved the pacing of it. I thought, I've been in a very bad reading slump, so I want things to move along, and this really did move along. Like, they didn't dwell on everything and like go into horrible detail of everything. It was like telling the story, and I really enjoyed it. Once they got to like the top of the mountain, it almost went too fast, it almost went too fast, and I didn't really like it as much after that. I mean, the ending is satisfying and everything, but I think she went through so quickly that she didn't answer all of my questions. Now, there is a sequel that I also got and was sent in the same book box, so I don't know if that will answer some of my questions, but I have a lot of questions. I also, one of the things that I really liked in the beginning part of the book was that she didn't have a love interest, really. I mean, there was thoughts that she could, but she was very goal-focused and wasn't planning on letting a boy into her life for any reason, and there wasn't all of that. So at the end of the book, when there's like this potential, like, and it's like a weird romance, it's weird. It's weird. So, you know, like the beginning I was really into, and then the ending I was like, I don't know. So I don't know how this is going to go in star ratings. I'm still a little tired from the readathon, so I can't think very well right now. So I'm kind of like, Now going back into March, I know this is very, very weird to go back to March, but I have to go back to March because I read some random book that I didn't wrap up. I read Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. This was actually very popular on BookTube a while ago, and it's about Emma. Basically doesn't remember anything from a party that she went to. Basically she was raped, gang raped at a party, and no one believes her, and how her life was changed, and just the double standard. Let me just say, this book infuriated me, and I hated that this could actually happen. If you like books that infuriate you and talk about tough topics, then by all means read this. This was not for me because it just made me so angry that people did not believe her. And just, I have no words. It infuriated me. I don't know what stars I gave it. Again, I read this like 6 weeks ago and I'm still infuriated by it. I mean, it's a good thing it was written. It's just like, I can't. I also read a NetGalley book that I got, Mindfulness for Teens with ADHD, and it is a workbook. For those who don't know, my daughter has ADHD, and so we have an interesting time working through it. So I'm always interested by like anything that can help get schedules going and things like that. So it was essentially a workbook. My only thing is that they're saying that it can be done with like teens can sit down and actually work through this workbook, and no child who has ADHD is going to sit down and do a workbook to try to help themselves. Let's just be honest with that. So it definitely needs to be guided by someone, whether it's a therapist, a parent, or someone else to make that happen. But the actual content in it was very, very good, and things that need to be worked on. A lot of children with ADHD have a lot of executive functioning issues, obviously. But I thought it was an excellent resource. I also read from NetGalley Duels and Deceptions. And I forget who it's by. Shoot. This was a young adult Regency romance. And it actually had a heist and a little bit of a kidnapping. It was very cute and it was very witty. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the romance is what it is. Like, I mean, it's a romance novel. Like, there's only so much I can summarize for you. But as a lover of little Regency romances from when I was very, very young, this brought me back to those days. There is no nasty content or bad content in it at all. It is very... I mean, I think they maybe kiss at the end. So it's very, very tame, very safe to give your little 13-year-old romance lovers. It was adorable. I loved it. I also read from NetGalley Coming Up for Air, and I think I should have been way better prepared for this. Yeah, by Miranda Kennielli. Excuse me. She's written a couple of other books as well that I've read. I think Catching Jordan I read. So this is another sports-themed romance book, and this one they're swimmers. Yay! Which was fun to read about. They're both competitive swimmers, and she doesn't do anything but swim. She feels like, and at this point in her life, she feels like she's missing out on the high school experience, and she only has so many months to do it, and yet she's also trying to get into a good college for swimming and everything. So she has to work hard for swimming. She's not like a natural swimmer. She has worked very, very hard for her swimming. I hesitate to say this is YA though. I would put it more on the new adult. I was not expecting as much sexual content as was in this book. And it actually took me aback because, you know, when I pick up a young adult book, I'm like, yes, I don't have to, you know, have all this sex scenes and all this craziness, and it's kind of glossed over, and I actually prefer to read that as opposed to explicit sex scenes. And there was a lot of, you know, like pretty graphic sex scenes in this. And so it took me aback and kind of made me not enjoy the book as much as I could. I also really didn't enjoy her absolute focus on sex, to be honest. It was like absurd, and for her to go from one thing to the other, it was just too much. So I didn't really enjoy this book as much, like not nearly as much as I anticipated, because I loved her first book that I read. So sorry this wasn't like the best review. Again, I'm like really, really tired right now, but it really wasn't really for me. And I would just be warned, there really is some graphic sex in this. And there's a lot of it, like copious amounts of it. So be warned. I also read this Harlequin Blaze, Pushing the Limits by Catherine Garbera. And this one, on the other hand, I actually enjoyed aspects of it more than I anticipated. So go figure, it was like two sides of the coin here. It is obviously a contemporary romance. It's set on a ranch, but not, like, this cover is like nothing of what happens in the book. Seriously. Jessie is a survivalist, and she has just recently lost her fiance, who was also a survivalist, who didn't survive, on a Mount Everest climb. So she needed a little bit of a change in her life, so she goes to this ranch where they are training astronauts, but not through NASA, like only partly through NASA. It's partly funded by other individuals to go up in space and make a way station so that they can eventually colonize Mars, I guess you could say. And we have Hemi, who is an astronaut. Of course, there's Insta-Love. It's only this big. It is the way it is, which isn't... he is actually Maori, too. I don't know much about the Maori peoples, but I learned something if the facts are correct in this. But what I really appreciated was Jessie, who is a survivalist, was written as an outdoorsy girl. And what I mean by that is, you know, a lot of times, you know, there's the librarian, but she likes silk underclothes or, you know, something stupid like that. When they were starting to get down and dirty, she was wearing a white cotton sports bra and like ugly underwear, and never changed throughout the book. She stayed the way she was, and I liked that. So for that, I gave an extra star, I think, because there's too often they have like this secret fetish for silk underwear. Like, who in the world wants to wear silk underwear? That's like, ugh. Now, the only thing I have left, I think, now is Shakesalong. Shakesalong, we read Coriolanus, and I'm kind of sad I left this for last. Coriolanus was an interesting play, to say the least. I don't know if I can say I actually liked it. It was very interesting, and I learned a lot of very good put downs from that book. I mean, he is nasty to the common people. Coriolanus is. And I also, I don't know if I disliked Coriolanus more or if I disliked all the people who made him the way that he was. Because at the beginning, he really was trying to not be such a, like, in a place of power. And, I mean, he was still a douchebag, but at least he wasn't trying to be in a place of power. And all these people started puffing him up like he was some sort of great god here. He makes me wonder whether he got participation trophies when he was a child, because, like, this is the way I see today's youth. It was like Coriolanus. So, I don't know if I liked it or not, but I'm glad I read it. Will I read it again? I hope not. And so, you know what? That's that. Let me leave it like that, because I am very, 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 very tired. So I will talk to you all again after this April. It's going to be May, and I will be doing my wrap-ups a little bit more normally, because this was all very weird. So I will talk to you again later. Bye.